One consciousness needs you. It takes one to know one. Takes one to know one. This may be the worst phrase to ever have been uttered, or perhaps the most brutal one. You see, it implies, if it is true, the acceptance of implication far more severe than merely the calling out of one who accuses another of one thing or another. No, it cuts to the quick, to the very core of all things. What about the concept of God? What about the concept of a devil? What? You don't see it? I'm saying that you can't conceive of a devil or a God unless you have a most intimate relationship to either. And I'm saying that if you have an intimation of one of them, you must have it for the other. There can be no other way to reason the concept. Let's take another tact. I'm happy to approach this concept from just about any angle, actually. It only proves my point. The mere ability to approach a topic from another angle, I mean. Let me explain. Let's discuss evolution, biological evolution. Who and what evolves? What is the apex of evolution? What is the desired effect or result of evolution? Is it not simply to be a more and more complex and integrated species, that which can reflect on itself and thus use said reflection to improve itself, at least theoretically? Would this not be awareness of awareness? One name for it is metacognition, to think about what you do and what you think. Another name for this is simply consciousness. Are we not the height and depth of this evolution process? We have evolved to the very pinnacle of this process. I propose the concept that we have reached the end of evolution in a sense. Specifically, I make this argument due to one fact. Consciousness, as a product of evolution, has separated itself from its biological component or root. Consciousness exists independently from its biological component. Even if this is merely hypothetical, literally something that cannot be proven, is it not the argument to be made? Is it not the ultimate desire? Cryogenic freezing, transference of personal consciousness to a non-biological platform or medium. There are movies, stories, TV shows, and fantasy based on this very desire. Mystics, mediums, and religions purport this very idea. A soul, in essence, a consciousness that never dies. Frankly, I don't see the difference when it comes right down to it, do you? Ultimately, on a very base level, we are all talking about the same thing. Those that come from consciousness arriving from the biological as a product of, and the mystic who says, well, it's there, so what's there first, right? Anyway, ultimately on a very base level, we are all talking about the same thing, regardless. I suggest that we have already succeeded. This is the problem. This is the true issue of our time. This is the existential crisis that is prevalent and cause of the continued ramp up of all our mental health problems. And it's hitting our species at a younger and earlier age. It is why, just below the surface of the societal persona, people are ready to crack. It is why there's so much dissent and tribalism. It is our increased awareness of this fact, our inability to continue to ignore this fact, that is the root of our angst. There is no longer an escape. The suspicion is that now that the consciousness has evolved in existence, and this whole crazy business of a collective unconscious, maybe a collective superconscious, and honestly, who cares what we call that which we suspect, etc. The point is now what? There's no escape. Drugs, insanity, institution, death, purpose, religion. What else have you got? Nietzsche went insane. Kierkegaard said, leap. The mystics say you are that. That art thou. Religions would have you follow dogma, each to their own supposed divinely given ideal, all of which disagree each with all others. So, do you exist or don't you? How do you prove it? How can you prove it to someone else if the only way is to die and then come back and tell someone? Are we to rely on faith? And if you do, that's how you establish your chosenness? That's the requirement of God? Really? No, sorry. This God you purport would not have existence be conditional. That's a no-brainer. How can anyone know anything? Oh, that's easy, actually. Assuming there is anything and everything to know, the means has been provided. It's how we started this discussion, remember? It might be the only argument. If you can conceive of something, anything actually, it's for one reason and one reason alone. It takes one to know one.